Let's talk about making competitive offers here in the San Diego real estate market and what it takes to win the home that you want here in San Diego. Welcome back to our first-time home buyer video series. I'm Jeremy Katz with eXp San Diego House Hunting, and in this video, we're going to be talking all about how to make the most competitive offer that will help you to get to the front of the line, to get to the top of the stack, and to win the home that you want. The first consideration is gauging the entire real estate market and determining exactly what you're going to need to do to bid to win in this market. Each home opportunity is a different negotiation situation with home sellers that have different and varying priorities. Some of those we can see right away. For example, if the property is vacant, you can presume that they would probably prefer to have the shortest escrow possible. But that's not always 100% the case. And each house is different. That's part of what makes buying a house so much different than any other major purchase that you might undertake. So when it's time to determine the best and most competitive offer for the property, we need to try to get the inside track, the most information possible about their current situation, what are their priorities and needs, and how can we tailor our offer to better fit the situation in order to give you the chance to be the selected buyer. So how do we gauge the market in San Diego? Well, of course, making phone calls, talking to the agents of the seller, talking to our fellow agents about what they think of the property, the situation, and other similar transactions that they have undertaken recently or that they're in escrow on right now. Also, we take a look at market conditions for the zip code. I can send you the market conditions that we use to evaluate and gauge the market in each zip code. It's going to be different. What's the percentage of list price that sellers are on average getting in this market? How long is it taking to sell a home in this market? For the particular subject property that we're going to bid on, how long has it been in the market? How many times have they reduced the price at all? What's the situation with the property? What's the indicated value for this property based on the comparables? What's the seller's motivation? What is our buyer's motivation? How can we make sure to win the property and hopefully also save the most money possible, right? This is part science and part art. So I'll give you my best input and advice and try to help you to get to the cutting edge of the market to win the home that you want without overbidding. Next, we're going to talk about researching comparables. In San Diego, it's usually pretty easy to figure out what's happened recently to properties nearby the subject property that you would consider buying. We talk about the concept of conformity. Is the property that you're intending to purchase, is it very similar to the other properties nearby, let's say in the subdivision or even in the zip code? Is it of similar size, age? Is it of similar condition? Is it of similar architecture? Those help to indicate what we call conformity. And if the property that you're considering purchasing is highly conforming, then it should be relatively easy to find recent sales comparables. If, however, it's not so conforming, then it becomes a bit more challenging to figure out what the indicated value is for the property. So having completed over 1,000 broker price opinions for banks and home buyers and sellers over the years, I have a pretty strong knack for being able to estimate the fair and indicated value for a property. That does not mean, however, that people would not pay more or maybe pay less than the indicated value, right? So this is where the part art comes into the conversation. Exactly what is the situation with the property, exactly what aspects of the condition need to be fixed, etc. All of these factors impact the desirability and the marketability of the property, and therefore the competitive landscape and how much we might need to bid in order to win. Next, I try to craft a strong offer letter that introduces you and makes a personal appeal. Home sellers are mainly, of course, interested in the price that they're going to get. But if we can only compete on price, that's going to cost you, my client, some money. And so I would rather compete on some of the other important bases that are necessary in order to actually complete a sale. Chiefly among them is the reliability and professionalism of the buyer's agent. I can show the listing agent that by working with us, they're going to get a consistent, professional, and easy transaction. I may negotiate firmly on your behalf. I may play hardball with them. I may be tough on them, but I will be fair and I will be communicative, and they can count on me to tell them what they need in order to make a firm decision and to decide if they're going to move forward and how we're going to actually finish the transaction. The number one question that home sellers ask me when I help them to sell their home is, after they confirm how much the buyer is going to pay for the property, the number one question they ask me, is this transaction going to close? And I'm grateful to be able to tell them, based on how we run our transactions, more than 90% of the escrows that we open actually close. And home sellers really appreciate that. They don't want to have the uncertainty or the fear associated with having gone into escrow, no matter the price, with a home buyer that is unprepared and going to be difficult or cause drama in the transaction. We want to run it smooth and right down the middle. We'll still negotiate firmly. We'll still work in your best interest. We'll still thoroughly investigate the property. We'll still ask tough questions and drive a hard bargain. But it will be in a spirit of fairness, and it will be with the idea in mind that we are going to close this transaction. Next, we can talk about flexibility in terms. There may be some aspects of flexibility from your side. Sometimes those could be in terms of the timeline. They could be in terms of maybe appliances that you want or don't want with the transaction. There could be flexibility in terms of the service providers, who we're going to use for the title, for the escrow, for how long the seller can stay in the property, for example, after the closing. It's customary for them to have at least 2 days free of charge, but depending on the competitive situation and on the seller's motivations, I may advise you to offer them some modest amount of additional time. And that could be the difference that makes you the winning buyer, and that's ultimately our final goal. Hey, if you win the house, then you won the negotiations. Next, let's talk about earnest money. When you open the escrow for the property that I'm going to help you to buy, you're going to need to make a earnest money deposit. The deposit is fully refundable, and you can get your money back if you follow the timeline and for some reason cannot complete the transaction. Typical reasons for that would be if the house fails inspection, or if the house does not appraise, or if something, God forbid, should happen in between when you enter the escrow and when it's time to fully remove all of the contingencies. So if there were to be a health setback or a job setback, you could back out and still get all of your earnest money back. The earnest money deposit, by the way, is typically 1% of the purchase price. Now, to show your motivation and to show how strong you are, if you are in a position to offer a larger earnest money deposit, again, fully refundable if you should choose not to buy the property, it will show the seller your motivation and also your strength as a buyer. So depending on the competitive situation, case by case, you may hear me advise you that you could consider increasing your earnest money deposit. Again, it's a deposit. It is refundable. Now, sometimes properties are really difficult to acquire and they're highly competitive. Could it be because they asked too little for the property? Have you seen some of those on websites where it's, wow, it looks obviously underpriced? That can happen. That is a pricing strategy that some home sellers and listing agents will pursue in the goal of trying to create a bidding war. Well, sometimes bidding wars are worth participating in. You can actually win them. I've won them many times for my clients, especially on a quality property that's very desirable. So how to win? One of the ways that we can consider using is a so-called escalation clause. The escalation clause tells the seller that you'll pay, for example, up to $1,000 more than the highest offer that they have with a certain limit. This is an escalation clause. When they see that, that tells them that you're highly motivated, that you want to compete, that you want to win the property, and that you're willing to pay $1,000 more than the next best offer they have. We also say that the offer has to be, by the way, bona fide. And so that means that in order to trigger the escalation clause, they're going to have to share with us and submit to us a genuine copy of the competing offer that triggered the escalation clause. So that way we can be sure that they're not just playing games with us and making you pay more money. So escalation clause can be an interesting way of setting your offer to the front of the stack or top of the stack. And if we get to that point in the kind of conversation, we can also review several other useful techniques that will help you to win properties in this challenging market. Let's talk about the timelines and expectations. Making a good, strong offer right away is always a good idea. If you see a property and you like it, well, chances are you will not be the only one that thinks that. There's going to be other folks that we are going to compete with in this market. They're going to see and like the house as well. So make your offer right away. Even if they tell us, hey, we're not going to review offers for several days, well, we have to balance our priorities in that case, because we don't want to not make an offer and find out that they suddenly accepted an offer unexpectedly. And on the other hand, we don't want to make our offer too early and then that they could be using our offer to play off and get even more or better offers. So it's going to be a case-by-case situation, could be a situational call where we're discussing the opportunity with the listing agent and sort of gauging the competitive environment and whether or not it would be best to submit your offer right away or maybe wait a day or two, but don't wait till the deadline. Also, when it comes to timing, we have to consider that some properties we may not win and they go pending, and that could happen whether or not we've made our offer on the property or not. What I would say about that is that it's always a good idea, if you see and like a property, make an offer. Without the offer, they cannot pick you. You can never win the property if you don't make an offer. So if you see a property you like, even if we find out that there's a lot of competition and or that it's already about to go into escrow, still, let's write up the offer, make your offer, and that doesn't commit you to that property, right? Especially if they're telling us that it's already in escrow. They'll just hold the offer until such time as maybe the current offer is somehow not working out. Most of the time, listing agents will go back into their emails and take a look at all of the offers that came in on a property. If they're having a problem with their current escrow, they'll go and take a look at all of the offers that have been made as backup offers. And they may let us know, hey, look, the current transaction is having trouble. Is your buyer still in the game? And of course, I'll call and check with you, and chances are you are still in the game. And it'd be a great chance to try to win a property with a lot less competition, in fact, because you took the time to make your offer, even though the house was pending. Now let's talk briefly about counteroffers. There can be a lot of different kinds of counteroffers, but mainly they come in two types, the SCO and the SMCO. The SCO is the seller counteroffer. The SMCO is the seller multiple counteroffer. Chances are we get a lot of SMCO, seller multiple counter. We're probably not going to be the only buyer that's trying to buy the property. They can issue different SMCO counteroffers to each of the different prospective buyers. They can negotiate with us separately. Each of the buyers can also either accept, reject, or even issue another counteroffer to the seller, sometimes improving their offer, in fact. It's a strategy. So getting a counteroffer is a good thing, and it means that we're in the game and in the running for negotiating. Signing their SMCO, simply accepting their SMCO, does not clinch the property for you, however, right? Because they have that SMCO document out to various buyers. So what we try to do is try to confirm and, if necessary, even counter their SMCO with an offer that we think is going to be the best and winning offer. Okay, so SMCO does not commit the seller to picking you, versus the other type, SCO, there'll be a deadline on their counteroffer. If we sign their SCO within the limited time frame that they give us, which is usually about 48 hours or less, then you are the selected buyer for the property. SCO, there is not multiple counters involved. You are the prospective buyer for the property. If you accept their SCO, the escrow will open and the transaction will begin. If you make a counteroffer to their SCO, the seller then has the right to change their mind, sell the property to someone else, accept your counteroffer, or maybe counter your counteroffer. Any of those are certainly possible. So when it comes to counteroffers, look for the chance to compete competitively, understand the difference between SCO and SMCO, and I'll help to guide you the whole way so that we have the best chance to win the property that you really like. Okay, this has been our video on the offer and counteroffer process for first-time and recent home buyers. It's going to be a great chance to work on this together. I'm Jeremy Katz with eXp San Diego House Hunting. Good luck and happy house hunting.